You've probably heard or seen that the standard RFP takes 3 to 6 months. But what if I told you the actual time it takes is closer to 2 work weeks? Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Catherine Corin, your procurement guide. This week, we're going to talk about the age-old why does the RFP take so long? So in my past life, I worked for a shared services organization where we went through an activity-based costing exercise to determine where our time was being spent. And we were fee for service, so we needed to track our time. And from that, we found that the standard RFP drafting editing took a mere 8 hours. So where did the rest of that time go? That's what we're exploring today. It's not the writing that's the bottleneck. It's everything around the writing. Think of it like an iceberg. The tip, the RFP document itself, is visible, but the massive chunk underneath the water, that's the months of work you don't see. Our data showed the actual time spent from start to finish was of an RFP was 50 to 80 hours. That's man hours from the procurement standpoint. We didn't track the end user's time for reading, reviewing, but it's procurement's not the bottleneck because that's the equivalent of just a couple of weeks of work. So where did the time go? Meetings. So many meetings. The process often starts months before it even comes to the procurement department. End users are investigating things, talking to their peers, talking to vendors, and that can go on for months, building their business case to get approval to acquire the good or service, and then they come to procurement. They've spent months on this, and now we need to be caught up on it. So it's going to feel like a very long time to them because they've already spent a lot of time on it. The pre-procurement phase is the real deceptive killer of the length of the process, and procurement wasn't even a part of it. Another key factor in the timeline is establishing the roles and responsibilities of this process and setting a timeline for feedback. We need those end users' knowledge. We know process, they know what their requirements are, they know the technical things. So we really need to bring in some roles and responsibilities. They can't just expect us to go, here, this is what I want, run with it. They need to give us feedback so that we are getting the right thing. And at the same time, we need to pull the information out of their heads so there's no assumptions or hidden preferences in the process. Hey, I just wanted to jump in here and let you know I started a Patreon community. In that community, I'd like to create a sharing of knowledge in procurement and contracts, answer your questions, have some of my peers answer your questions, and also share some statements of work, documents that I use in my practice that may be helpful in your day-to-day procurement career. Link is down below. Love to see you there. So I have an example here from State of Rhode Island Division of Purchases of their recommended RFP process timelines. And they've got suggested time frame of 2 to 4 weeks to complete a needs assessment, 4 weeks for determining policy, strategy, etc. 4 weeks to draft the RFP, 6 weeks to get the feedback and finalize the RFP, posting the RFP, a pre-bid conference, a deadline for written questions, responses to the vendor questions, and this is all adding a week, the RFP. So you can see how long it can become depending on what you're doing with that process. Then they give 4 weeks for their evaluation. In terms of the RFP process, theirs is longer. than the 1 month, 1 month, 1 month. So what are the strategies for improving these timelines? Early procurement involvement. If we're involved at the beginning stages, we can use some of that information in the exploring of what's out there to help build the requirements of the RFP. It'll make our drafting much faster, and we'll know what led to some of the decisions, and there's no catch me up to what you've been working on. Streamline the approvals. That's another piece I haven't really spoken about, but the approval process can bog down because, again, you're going to someone who hasn't been involved from day one, and now you have to catch them up. So you also have to articulate in a very brief note why you're going to market, what has been done. Do some parallel processing. Drafting your evaluation guidelines, as I've said before, is a great practice to build your RFP. So if you're doing it in parallel to make sure everything maps properly, it'll shave some time. It's much faster to draft it together than the old draft the evaluation after you've posted the RFP. Optimize your evaluation, and I've mentioned that in previous videos. Involve your evaluation committee from the start. Have them help you draft the RFP requirements so that they're completely familiar with it before you get to the point of receiving proposals, and then they're trying to understand the framework and why did we ask this question. Understanding where our time is being spent on the RFP process and articulating it to our end users helps find ways to maximize our time. It's not just about the writing. It is the collaboration, the sharing of information, approvals, all the people stuff, decision making that needs to occur in the process. If we can find ways to make that more efficient and effective, the RFP process won't take so long. Hope this was helpful. Try focusing, maintaining some logs on where your time is spent. I'm going to have a future video on maximizing our time and using some productivity time management tools in your procurement career. Thanks for watching.